Hey everybody, it's Joe Chaffee. Guess who's here after the snowstorm of yesterday? He decided to make an appearance on camera. Little Kovu. He's just a good old boy. He likes to hang around. Okay, so uh, welcome to my YouTube channel. As he and I will be looking at the next 5 days or more with the very active weather pattern coming up. By the way, I got every bit of 16 inches here in central Long Island, and actually central Long Island wound up getting the most out of anybody. There's anywhere from 14 to 18 inches from this, and just about all of Long Island got at least a foot. So it was quite the storm, and now, of course, it's over with and kind of quiet and a little breezy today. Just want to show you to start off with. Oh, before I get to that, welcome to my YouTube channel. And if you're a returning subscriber, welcome back. If you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, by all means, hit the subscribe button. It's absolutely free. You get notified when new videos come on. It makes life easy for you, and it helps me out. So I really appreciate it. Okay, so we've got very interesting indices when we look at the teleconnections, okay, and these are all these sort of really technical ways of looking at the atmosphere in terms of whether we have blocking or no, we don't have blocking, if the jet stream is in a normal pattern or if it's in a pattern where it's displaced further south, and depending on whether these indexes read positive or negative can have an impact on how warm or cold the weather is as in the United States. And of course, we particularly try to focus in on the Northeast. So one of the things that's happening next week is that the Pacific North America pattern, which would mean a very strong ridge, strong ridging in the western part of the United States, goes absolutely off the wall positive. Okay, so a positive Pacific North America pattern can be an indicator of some storm development here in the eastern states. So if you have a strong ridge, very strong ridging in the west, you could have a very deep trough here in the east. Now, combined with that, which is very interesting, is the North Atlantic Oscillation, and we've been talking about blocking emerging for next week, and it's already started. The NAO is crashing off the wall negative on the index. Anything less than minus 200 is what I would consider off the wall, or for a positive would be anything over 200. I mean, these are kind of extreme readings here on the PNA, not exactly extreme on the NAO, but that's a pretty strong negative signal. I think that means that at the very least, the eastern part of the United States, particularly the Mid-Atlantic and the Northeast for sure, and possibly even the eastern part of the Great Lakes, will be cooler than normal, while the rest of the country may not be. And the EPO, the East Pacific Index, is positive, which would weigh in on warmer air. It's just that with the NAO going negative, that kind of keeps the east from getting too warm. And in fact, over time, the EPO does go closer to neutral and then negative, which would favor colder weather in the east. But it's this and this that kind of interests me at the moment, because they are so strong in their readings that I think it's going to dominate the pattern going into next week. So there definitely will be some opportunities in the mix. Now, let me just show you two things that are happening here with regards to the short range. We have a bit of a warm front that's setting up to our west, and it's just about running like this. The cold air that's over us now is moving out, and we have warm air that's trying to move in. It's not especially warm, but it's warmer air nonetheless. You got a low back over through Kansas. You got this low up in the western Great Lakes. So there's a pretty good boundary between cold and warmer air. So you wind up with an area of snow that breaks out ahead of it. And indeed, the NAM and the other models do bring that along. He's finding it very interesting. It's like staring right at the map. And it brings in an area of snow. Now, for the New York City area, it looks like the borderline to me would be just north and east of Route 80 in New Jersey to about the city. We're going to allow that it could be the western edge will be a little further back to Long Island, certainly for Connecticut and the Hudson Valley. And I think sometimes with these warm fronts, they can produce anything from as little as a coating to if there's a bit of a concentration of moisture, you might wind up with a couple of inches in some isolated spots. So I covered for that possibility. And then that goes by, and you got this little low that kind of runs off near Cape Cod. But now we've got this next weather system already coming out of the Central Plains. And actually, in a lot of ways, this looks like what we just went through. But there are a couple of differences, and one important difference is that the low itself is, at least at this stage of the game, is not as strong as the low we had yesterday. So we wind up with a low at 1,003 millibars southeast of Atlantic City, as opposed to yesterday's low, which was almost 20 millibars deeper. And the deeper the low is, the colder air is pulled down into the cyclone. So instead, you're going to get that intensification occurring when the low gets further east of Cape Cod. So that would be too late, essentially, to bring the cold air to us. However, one of the things that is concerning me, well, aside from the fact that the area where there might be some snow at the start with this is not that far away. I mean, the NAM model does have some sleet in northeastern Pennsylvania and into northwest New Jersey, and it has snow into the Hudson Valley and into western Connecticut. In fact, I could conceivably see a few inches possible in those areas along and north of Route 84, and even south of Route 84. It might not be that far away where somebody could wind up with a couple of inches from this Sunday afternoon before it changes to rain at least up to just north of Route 84. Northern Connecticut stays all snow, and perhaps down into the northern parts of Dutchess County and Ulster and Sullivan counties. But you can still see it's producing sleet back into the northwest counties of New Jersey. If this low were to have intensified a little bit more at this stage, the rain snow line would be pulled down further south toward the coast. The other thing that's concerning me is the fact that because the NAO, the blocking is so strong that's developing, I have to wonder whether this might wind up being pinned down a little further south, which might make the cold air, at least the cold air that tries to build down from northern New England and southeastern Canada, a little bit more important on Sunday. So I'm going to want to keep a close eye on this to see what happens. Ultimately, see, here's where the low starts to intensify, as opposed to yesterday's storm, where the low began to intensify when it was back in eastern Virginia. If it would have to start intensifying further to the west in order to pull more of that cold air down from the north. So New England catches it. It's a major storm for northeastern New England for sure, and even into some parts of central New England. They're going to get quite a bit of snow out of this. You get a wrapped up low here in the Gulf of Maine by Monday morning. Strong winds for us here as we dry out after the rain from Sunday night pulls out. Doesn't look like a whole lot of rain that we'll get from this. And then you've got this major storm in the Gulf of Maine that kind of settles there. So that's the NAM's view. And here's the GFS's view today. It's a little further to the north with the surface low. You can see it here somewhere near Harrisburg, and then it moves it out southeast of Montauk. But I think the NAM might have the better idea because of the strong blocking signature that's showing up in the atmosphere. Now let's widen out. And I want to show you the upper air. We're going to go back to the prior run because we have enough of it, and show you that why we think this pattern is going to be active going forward in the next week. Okay, so here's the upper air chart for next week. So here's our first New England storm that's off the New England coast on Monday, and you've got this blocking high that's sitting up, that's pushing from Europe up into eastern Greenland. You have this flow from Canada that's bringing down, one weather disturbance after another. Plus, you've got this sort of active Pacific jet that's moving along, and that is going to continue through next week. So when we move it out, see that trough moves out. Now here comes this diver. This southern system looks like it's going to wind up getting left behind, but this system dives into the northeast and really is very strong. But where it goes up into upstate New York would not be a good spot for storm development. That would wind up taking something way out. But we just saw what happened with this one, and one of the things I'm going to watch for is whether this trough axis, instead of being say here, winds up being more to the west. The European has a bit more of a westward shift with this, and so did the GFS trend that way from the two runs from last night. What will make a difference here is the strength of the blocking. If the blocking is a little bit stronger, it could force this to dig a little bit further to the south and west. So that would open up a possibility for something along the East Coast about the middle of next week, let's say later Wednesday into Thursday. And then that pulls out, and you kind of get a slight relaxation of the pattern. But I wonder about that because you still do have activity going on in this northern jet with disturbances dropping down. So at any point, something might happen. A lot again is going to depend on the strength of this block in the longer term and how much of it holds. Let's take a look. We're not going to have too much of this, but we might have enough at least to take us into next Wednesday. And all right, so that's Monday's system. All right, this is Wednesday's system, and it looks to me, it certainly looks as if it at least it has not trended further to the west. But here's that, that blocking high that's trying to come over the top, and then you've got this strong ridge that's out in the Pacific. So why don't we take a look and see how this translates to the coast? And one other possibility is whether that southern system winds up, getting lagging slower. And that's another thing to consider too. So there's a couple of different ways that this could evolve as we go into later next week. So you see here, all right, so there's our first storm for Sunday, that major storm that churns up into eastern New England. Here comes the diver for Wednesday, and then that goes out of May. See, the GFS has a different view of this than the European did because of how it handles the upper air. And then you've got this Gulf system in the southern stream that winds up getting kicked out to the east-northeast. But it's certainly cold enough by the middle of next week and the latter part of next week, actually even sooner than that, it'll turn cold and windy behind the first system. And then once the second one drops in, it actually will be rather cold for the second half of next week, given how how this is all looking with this low to the northeast and this high dropping down. But you know what? With all this energy running around, I want to keep a very open mind as to how this is all going to play out in the longer term. All right, let's backtrack. I want to show you the snowfall maps with regards to this next weather system. And we'll look at the GFS first, which is showing 24-hour snowfall, so we can break everything down individually. This is the system for tonight, which basically leaves a coating to a couple of inches from northern New Jersey. Again, I think it's going to be north and northeast of Route 80, and northeastern Pennsylvania, north and northeast of Route 80. Maybe as far south as Long Island and New York City, but certainly into Connecticut and the Hudson Valley. Now, here's the second thing. Now, the GFS, being that it's a little bit further to the north, has the southern edge of snow probably right along Route 84. The NAM would have it much further to the south, and I would probably lean in that direction, if only because of the fact that we have this really strong blocking developing. That cold air that will be up in New England may wind up being a little bit more important in areas a bit further south. So I want to be a little extra careful about that. And you can see there's some 3-4 inch amounts on the GFS for Sunday night into Monday. It might very well be a little bit more than that along and north of Route 84. I think more on the Connecticut side than on the New York side. And then here's the big snows for relatively big snows. I mean, up to a foot of snow in parts of New Hampshire, Vermont, and Maine. And even into, I wouldn't be surprised if this winds up being pushed back a little bit further to the south. The NAM, to give you a view of what the NAM is doing, with regards to this. And here's the NAM's close-up track of the low. You can see here it kind of center jumps from West Virginia to off the New Jersey coast, and then moves along. And it's usually just at the point at the southeast of Long Island it starts to intensify. Again, you'd have to have this intensification occur back in here for it to be really relevant. But with some colder air up in New England at least at the onset, I want to watch out for that possibility. I can't break the NAM snowfall down because it doesn't have a 24-hour map available. So it's all of this is cumulative. But there's at least we could see the first snowfall from the warm front tonight into tomorrow morning, which is also again a coating to maybe an inch or two. The southern edge might be further south. So let's subtract 2 inches from here. This is for Sunday night into Monday, and it actually the NAM gives a few inches in northern New Jersey, down the Hudson Valley, and maybe even a coating to an inch down to the city. And it's fairly aggressive in Connecticut. So I think in this area we're gonna have to subtract about 2 inches or so, but it gives every bit of 6 or 7 inches north of Route 84, and also in upstate New York from Dutchess County northward, it probably gives every bit of 3 or 4 inches. So we're going to pay attention to this. We don't want to, fall asleep with these winter weather systems coming along one after another. You can see what a challenge all of this has been with the last one. I can't believe he sat here through the whole thing. Now that it's over, he wants to leave. Or at least he wants to move. All right, so everybody, thanks if you've been up this long. You must like my video. So if you haven't subscribed for free to my YouTube channel, hit the red subscribe button on this page. I think it's a red button. And you'll get notifications of when new videos come up. And it really helps me out with my standing with Google, and I would appreciate it. The more that people subscribe, the better it shows up in searches. So, we'll have a bigger and bigger audience coming, which is a great thing, okay? And I love the fact that you guys engage and write your comments. In storm situations, I appreciate the latitude. I can't get back right away, but I did jump in last night at one point and try to get to everybody's comments. So I apologize if it's just tough. I'm doing TV at the same time, so I'm just trying. It's hard to make get it all done at once, but I do eventually get to them, and I promise. Check out the latest web posts with regards to all of the developments this weekend and longer range. I have snow forecast maps up and so on on meteorologistjoechaffee.com. And if you want specific local forecasts for New York, New Jersey, Long Island, Connecticut, Hudson Valley, and Eastern Pennsylvania that are produced and created by me and written by me with real-time satellite and radar loops and much more, you can download my app and subscribe to my forecast. The link comes up on the card. I think it's up on this corner. It's just 99 cents a month. So for less than the price of a cup of coffee, $1 a month, you can carry me around in your pocket. And, I'm a big guy, but on the app, I'm a lot smaller, so I'm a lot easier to carry. And, the $1 a month subscription after a while helps me buy myself a couple of cigars and have a beer every once in a while and when I go fishing. Everybody have a great day. Have a great Friday. Enjoy your weekend. If you haven't dug out from the snow cover, now's your chance. Actually, tomorrow will be your chance as it'll be a little warmer and a little easier to do. It is still cold out there with the wind. I'm not doing it. My neighbor's doing it for me. He's a great guy. All right, everybody have a great day.